Good afternoon, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer. Hope you're doing very well today, and we are returning to Mono Red Madness in Modern, the madness of turn 3 and turn 4 kills with Prowess. Very different, it must be said, from the beloved BGX archetype. We're taking a brief break from that, then we're going to dive right back into Rock and other BGX variants in Modern and in Pioneer coming up. But for now, another deviation, another stop along the way to have our second run out of Mono Red Prowess in the league. Now, for those who don't know, for those who are maybe discovering the channel because of the Prowess content, which is my hope that at least some of you are, I'm a super busy guy, very busy. I don't always have time. If I want to play a league, sometimes I have to break it up into chunks, in other words. So due to that, the majority of the leagues that I do play for the channel are live recorded, live commentated. But occasionally I do play replays. I do upload replay leagues, partially because they fit better in my schedule to play one game here, 2 games there, eventually get through a league. And partially because some people do prefer the replay format for live recorded leagues, and this is going to be a replay. So this is my second time out in league competition with Mono Red Prowess. I stuck to my guns. I stuck to the list that we debuted a 3-2 with, and we're going to get straight into another league, the replay of my second league out here. Real quick before we do, we have 3 brand new Patreon supporters to thank. You'll love to see it. We've got Corey West and Colin Haskins, both of whom are Inquisitors. Thank you so much for supporting this content, guys. And last but certainly not least is the Fjord. The Fjord is legendary. The Fjord is of the Veil, the very highest tier of support. Now, if you guys are rockers, if you guys are BGXers, you want me to shout you out on the next BGX gameplay video? Sure, let me know. I'm happy to do that. I don't want to stick you with the Prowess shout out if you don't care about Prowess, but I hope you do, because this deck is really sweet. I will always play and always love BGX, but I'm not going to lie, guys, I really enjoy this deck too. So without further ado, let's get straight into round 1. So here we go, guys. Here we go. Starting off with a Prowess hand. That is a very capable hand. I am somebody who's playing a 1 of Kiln Fiend for the moment. I'm still new to the deck, but it seems correct to me. We'll talk more about that maybe in the wrap-up or maybe as it comes up during games. But basically, I see a lot of people playing either 0 or 3-ish, maybe 2 to 3. I don't think it has to be that way. I think playing exactly 1 does have some potential merits, and that's what I'm trying out. That's what I'm doing. We see opponent on the play going turn 1 Elvish Mystic. We're very happy to just dart that, and normally we'd want to see usually a 1-drop before a 2-drop, of course, get the clock going early, but if we had the 1-drop, there would have been some tension between darting and playing Swifty. I'm very happy to have just been able to dart with a clean conscience there, and really slowing the Elves down by even a turn on our deck by controlling the board is amazing. So we're going to go turn 2 Kiln Fiend, pass it back to the opponent. Opponent taking quite a lot of pain from their Nurturing Peatlands. Not ideal against us, to say the least. And they don't have any kind of ramp that they've assembled. They don't have any kind of little mini combo like with Nettle Sentinel and Heritage Druid that they've assembled. So they're just kind of playing along the curve. Very good for us. And this, my friends, this is a bit of a fateful attack from our opponent. I understand, you can't play scared. You've got to get the damage across, but we're on Kiln Fiend, and that's a little bit scary, or at least it should be for our OP. So we're going to lead off on Monastery Swiftspear. The 3rd land is huge here because it lets us do that and still go Manamorphose, and we try to put together the turn 3 kill. And you know what? I think we've got a pretty good shot at it, and look at that. We're going to Force Bolt the board because we don't have Crash Through for damage. We go Lava Spike upstairs. Kiln Fiend is already a 10-2. Cash in a Mountain for Lava Dart. Before these even resolve, the opponent scoops, but we were about to hit for 13 plus 5 is 18, putting the opponent at -4. Just your casual, everyday turn 3 Kiln Fiend kill while controlling the board. We killed 2 creatures along the way to getting a turn 3 kill, and we still had 6 points of direct damage, plus, I guess if we're counting Kiln Fiend, triggers and Monastery Swiftspear triggers another 8 points of damage on top of that, so we basically had another 14 damage in hand. That was just gated by mana and the ability to connect again with these creatures. So, pretty savage opening, I have to say. Did I mention that I love this deck? Pretty cool stuff, my friends. Let's take a look at how we sideboard against green-black Elves. Okay, guys, so as I mentioned, I am still new to the deck. I'm not going to sell you on a sideboarding plan that I'm not 1000% confident on, so I'm going to open it up to feedback and give the caveat that I'm not entirely sure about the marginal decisions here. So I know that we definitely want 3 Abrade. Controlling the board, very, very important against Elves. Very happy to spend a card to do that. No question about it. Dismember I'm a little less sure about, simply because our life total does matter a lot. It's not like they're the old combo deck, the old green-white elf combo deck where they either assemble the devoted combo and kill you with Azuri Overrun, or they probably don't kill you at all. Here with the green-black elves, they aggro you out, they have Shaman of the Pack for the reach. Your life total really matters, so I don't know whether or not we should play Dismember. You guys can let me know. I think these 5 cards should be in consideration to come out. Kiln Fiend might seem a little weird because we did just win turn 3 off of it, but they will almost always be able to throw some kind of a chump blocker in the way, and therefore I don't know if we should just at least call that into question. Not sure. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy to trim a Reveler here, because it is a race, and Lava Spike, even though we want to race them, we want to go to the face, we can race very effectively by controlling the board and then attacking for like chunks of 2, 3, 4 per creature, right? So I think we leave 1 Lava Spike in. I don't want to dilute that too much. I don't want to dilute the direct damage too much. But I think we would bring in these 3 Abrades, possibly a Dismember, and then cut either 3 or 4 from this this category here, depending on whether or not we like the Dismember. I don't think we'd cut Reveler and Kiln Fiend. It'd probably be one or the other. So let me know what you guys think about that, but that's the rough idea about sideboarding. Let's go to Game 2. Game 2, Round 1 against the Elves, and we have another fantastic hand. 2 lands, a threat, and a bunch of gas. Cannot ask for more than that. Well, the only thing we could ask for is a way to control the board. That's the only thing this does lack, but it's certainly no reason to mulligan, especially when the opponent shows us that they will mulligan. They're satisfied with 6. They're going to show and then deploy a Nettle Sentinel and pass it back to us, so of course we just jam SSM, pass it back to the opponent. They go Cavern of Souls, attack with Nettle. You know, this is an example of somewhere where like a gut shot would come in handy, you know, the instant speed combat trick to really punish them for this, because clearly they're trying to get the damage, then they're going to untap. And here's the little mini combo I mentioned in Game 1, and oh boy, they've got everything here. Heritage Druid into the land, into the second Nettle. This is crazy. So what happens here is Heritage's ability, tap 3 untapped elves you control, you add 3 green. Nettle Sentinel, whenever you cast a green spell, you may untap. So they have an enormous ability to produce mana right here, right now, and they go for a Winding Way. So they're going to look at the top 4 cards. They get to take any creature cards they reveal. The rest go into the graveyard, so it's a little bit scary. They, of course, again, get the untap here. So Winding Way will resolve, but we luck out here. So they hit Collected Company, Damping Sphere, and Forest. Pretty poor stuff. Pretty poor hits here. And they do get a Heritage Druid that they get to play, but even that isn't great, you know? They don't have the... That's just a redundant combo piece, basically. And they're already almost out of gas with only 1 card in hand. So that Winding Way could have been the beginning of the end for us, but instead it was a little bit of an anticlimax. Back over to us, we draw Monastery Swiftspear. So we do have some interest in playing Swifty, but I think I'm more interested in just kind of starting to dig right now. And a couple Manamorphose, gonna let us get big, gonna let us definitely do some kind of work here. And then after the fact, having seen a few more cards, seeing the Bedlam Reveler, we are now more incentivized to just jam, you know, so we play out the Swifty. And we are going to Lightning Bolt the board. Lightning Bolting the board gives us good attacks and slows their roll, whether it be the ability to combo off more savagely if they start drawing hot, whether it be the ability to have a payoff for things like Elvish Archdruid, Shaman of the Pack. I just really like controlling the board in this matchup, so that's what we do. And it's better to kill a Sentinel there than a redundant Druid, because the Sentinel is more impactful as a single piece than a single Druid, and it's bigger, right? So, Sentinel gonna hit us, opponent's gonna get to untap it, play the Elvish Mystic, and then they tap out here. They tap 4, so I'm a little worried about a Collected Company. Instead, it's just Shaman of the Pack that they needed black for. So, hey, you know, it's a good way to close out for the opponent. It is back to us, but they are out of gas. Life totals are pretty close as well. So we draw a land, not particularly exciting. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and spike, getting Spectacle. Then we try to find another good 1-mana spell basically off of this Light Up the Stage. And there it is. We have a Forked Bolt. Pretty cool. So we could play Soul-Scar Mage, set up for a good turn next turn. But I think we are more incentivized to control the board right now. And it's also very interesting, do we tag a Mystic or do we tag the Druids? I thought about it for a little while, actually. I think we want to do one or the other. I think leaving Heritage Druid gives them the most outs, leaving a Heritage Druid alive. Leaving Elvish Mystic alive means they get to cast a 3-drop. Okay. If they had a third land and they were in danger of casting Coco, then maybe, but we probably couldn't stop that either way. In any case, we double tag the Heritage Druid. This is why I love Forked Bolt. Like I said in my deck tag, I don't know if this is a noob take to be high on Forked Bolt relative to Burst Lightning, but I sure am. I really, really like it. It's overperformed for me consistently. And granted, Elves is a very good matchup for it, but still. Now, the opponent decides to double block our Soul-Scar Mage. Maybe they feel priced into doing so, but frankly, that's just awesome for us. Again, we like spending resources to control the board here. That's totally fine. So that's a 2-for-1. Pretty awesome stuff. So we begin with the Crash Through, and then we'll Lava Dart the board, speaking of controlling the board. And then it's Bedlam Reveler time. We're going to leave our poor Soul-Scar in exile, but the upside of this is just way too high. We don't need to scrape for every little piece of value here. We just need to take it to the opponent, playing the value game and the control game and the aggro game in the best possible balance. And I think that's more or less what we set out to do here, and clearly a little bit too much for the opponent to handle. They're going to scoop in the face of our overwhelming advantage and clock. So that was an absolute crushing of Elves here in round 1. We had a lot more game actions this time, or it was a lot more complex, but that was still a turn 4 scoop, nearly a turn 4 kill, again, while pointing a whole ton of stuff at the board. So when your opponent's got a lot of X1s and X2s, you know, and they're synergy dependent, our stuff lines up pretty well, what can you say? But off to a strong start. Let's go to round 2. Okay, my friends, it's round 2. We're losing the die roll, and our hand looks better than it is at first glance. It's actually pretty bad, because not only do we not have an early threat, we have double Bedlam Reveler. So I threw it back, looking for a better 6, and this certainly qualifies as a better 6. We've got Swifty, 2 lands, 2 damage spells, and 2 cantrips. Pretty nice, but we have to send one of them back, and we just send one of the direct damage spells back. I like keeping the cantrips here if we're not sure what we're up against, and it, you know, can help unmull us, help curve us toward ideal situations. So the opponent goes Street Wraith, Fetch Land, Pass. Looks like a Shadow deck to me. You know, it is always, I guess, an open question as to whether or not we want to start chipping in with the damage here. But the opponent won't even give us the choice. They just go get a Swamp, and then main phase a Dismember, and it's back to the opponent. They're going to Thought Seize us, and they take away Bedlam Reveler. They take away the top end, leaving us with cantrips and with damage. So, playing for the long game, also not terribly concerned, it seems, with our burn. Obviously, they have some payoffs for that. So we find a couple more threats cycling. We find Kiln Fiend, Soul-Scar Mage. Back to the opponent. They're going to Thought Seize away Soul-Scar. So they're going to leave us with the Kiln Fiend, again leaving us with the burn. So, you know, not much we can do here besides run out the Fiend. Back to the opponent, and apparently that's good enough. They're going to scoop it up, so no Fatal Push. Even if they had another discard spell taking away Lava Spike, looks like we can still get there with the Fiend, the Bolt, the Dart Flashback. So the opponent really obviously pretty unlucky there to keep a one-lander and never hit the other land, despite at least one cantrip in hand in the form of Street Wraith. Pretty rough stuff, but hey, you know, they did go get a swamp. Maybe that's what lost them the game, because could be that they had Thought Scours or Stubborn Denials or something relevant rotting in hand that they could have operated on 1 mana. Who knows? Who knows? But these are the types of decisions that we pressure opponents into making by showing them that turn 1 Swiftspear, by showing them that turn 1 basic mountain sometimes. You know, the pressure. It's kind of like playing around Blood Moon. The pressure of that life total ticking down before your eyes leads people to take some decisions that can back them into a corner. I think that's what we saw here. So a bit of a free win here, game 1. And look, this was a Kiln Fiend win again. We didn't actually get to execute it, but Kiln Fiend guarantees, even through discard, that we're going to take them down next turn. They just need a kill spell. They don't have it. Kiln Fiend's going to show them the business. So, yeah, for a 1-of, it's already doing a lot of work. Maybe Kiln Fiend goes on our thumbnail here. Let's take a look at the sideboard against what is some kind of a shadow deck, we assume. Okay, my friends, so this is what I've been doing lately against Shadow and sideboarding. It's worked out pretty well for me. We're going to play a copy of Dismember, just gotta do it. You kill Shadows at certain stages of the game. You can always kill a Gurmag Angler with this if it resolves. Shrine of Burning Rage, this is something I was initially not sure about. Sometimes they go too fast for us to get this online, and sometimes it gets blown out by Kolaghan's command. We give them a really good K command, you know, a couple different good K command options probably. Having said that, I still have won a lot of games on the back of this card against Shadow. It just really punishes them for doing what they're doing. We can steal games off of them with this. Also, 1 copy of Blood Moon, not both. The, you know, it's not a guaranteed win or anything even close to it, really, but it is a nice little cheese factor that we can bring to bear. So I've kind of hedged with only 1. It's possible we should be playing the second one. It's possible that the second one is better than the second Shrine. It's also possible that we should be leveraging some way to kill like a Damping Sphere. But the problem with that is Abrade is just pretty weak against their major threats. So this is how I've been siding. Let me know what you think. And in terms of what comes out, I think that's easier to determine. Kiln Fiend, game 1 card, we can definitely lose it against a Fatal Push deck. And then Forked Bolt is the weakest, because we, even though just like spiking them right out of the gates can be a little bit loose, we want to keep our spikes in to try to steal games when they go low. When they start trying to aggro us out and they have to go low to do so, that's when we want the high density of spikes in our deck to try to steal the game. Otherwise, I think this is pretty much good to go. Let's check out round 2. And here we are, round 2 against Shadow, the opponent keeping 7. We had a pretty weak one, 4 basic mountains and then just some burn in hand. That's a mulligan to me in this matchup, even though we don't like to mulligan in this matchup if we can at all help it. This is a pretty good 6. We've got double Lightning Bolt, Crash Through Manamorphose, Swifty, 2 lands, and we definitely have to send one of them back. It's just going to be the redundant Lightning Bolt. Excuse me, I think I misspoke. The opponent did mulligan to 6 as well. It doesn't show you that right away on the replay. And they're going to go right ahead and fetch Shock Thoughtseize very aggressively, taking away Manamorphose. We draw a Swiftspear, so the fact that they left us with a creature means they almost certainly have a kill spell, so drawing another one seems pretty good. Thought Scour will mill a couple good cards, Gurmag Angler and Inquisition. I'm not heartbroken about that. Then opponent will grab Blood Crypt, Fatal Push us main phase. So at this point, even though we do risk making Shadows better, I do think it's correct to start clocking them, make them have the Shadow. Also make them have another kill spell. So they have the Shadow. And they have an Angler, and they have a 3rd land, so they're representing Stubborn Denial, and they've just got very big. They're also representing at least a 6/6 Shadow by fetching and shocking. So this is where our position gets a little bit tricky. So what do we do here? We draw Bedlam Reveler. That's pretty good. That makes us just want to start motoring on. No point in showing them the land yet. We're not playing around Stubby D because they have Ferocious, so we go ahead and Manamorphose. It'll resolve. We find a Soul-Scar Mage, and now this is interesting. So we could have attacked and held the Lightning Bolt. That's one line, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. We could, presumably they're going to go block, and then presumably we're going to be able to point a bolt at whatever blocks and then kill it, or trade with it, or something. The other line is what I did here, which is just to say, okay, we have 2 creatures on board, we have a Bedlam Reveler in hand, we have a couple Fiery Islets as well. I'm just going to try to keep drawing burn. We're just going to block, and we're at 17 as well. So we're just going to block. We're just going to try to burn them out, try to draw enough burn to win. Now, the opponent's going to Fatal Push us. That's pretty rough. Definitely puts a big wrench in our plans. And so for that reason, rather than going on the block plan, we are going to go on the untap and see what we draw plan. So it's going to be another land. We've got to spend this for Bedlam Reveler. And we've got some stuff. So we're back to the holding pattern here of just sitting back, trying to survive with a couple blocks, trying to burn them out. Okay. We've got some chances to do so. What's it going to be? We draw Warlord's Fury. Okay. So that's what we'll begin with. We're just kind of trying to hit lava spikes here. And the draw of Bedlam Reveler is a little bit fateful. We're looking to cast it. There's just no way we get there. Because we cast it, we've got the ability to block one thing, we're going to die. We cantrip with Fiery Islet. There's still really no way we get here, but at least maybe we could, hope to draw a lightning bolt or something. Maybe they forget and they fetch, things like this. Either way, it doesn't matter. We just didn't quite get there. So would have been interesting if we had attacked and allowed the block and then tried to bolt the board. The game would have gone longer, and the fact that we drew Bedlam Revelers and, cantrip lands and cantrip spells rather than burn, I think that could have rewarded us for going a little bit longer. That said, the Fatal Push that they used, maybe they just had that in hand, that one unknown in hand. We said they were representing Stubborn Denial. Maybe they were representing Fatal Push, so then maybe we just, bolt the Angler and it does nothing because they push our Swifty. And then we were even worse off. So a bit of a tough curve out for us to handle from the opponent. There are definitely progressions where we could easily have won this game, but we did not get there. We got wrecked by the Zombie Fish and the Death Shadow Avatar. So well done to the opponent. Let's go to game 3. Okay, my friends, we got the play this time. I think for the first time in the league, we got the play. And it's a solid one. We got the threat, we got the 2 lands, and we have got the gasoline. So you'll love to see that. Opponent taking them all down to 6. Double Mishra's Bauble into Swamp, into Inquisition. No surprise to see Manamorphose go. It is the most dangerous card in most situations for us. And this is no exception. Drawn another land, not the very best, especially if we want to see a land now. It's probably should be the Fiery Islet. And hey, look at that. So we got one. Again, yet another land, not very ideal, is it? But we're just going to keep on crashing through. And we get another Manamorphose, so going after the opponent, hitting him down. And they have a Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's pretty awkwardly timed, I still think we have to just keep crashing through there. I think that's correct because we're trying to draw more threats. But, yeah, definitely can leave us vulnerable to a Thoughtseize. But once again, the opponent is stuck on a swamp, just like they were in Game 1. Our major problem is that we are just flooding, and that is not ideal. So we are going to bolt, and we're going to try to race, and we are also going to play around further discard by holding up the Fiery Islet. I think at this point we have enough incentives to do so where that's correct, whereas the previous turn we had enough incentives to keep casting Crash through, right? So opponent does have a Shadow, still no land. We cantrip into yet another land. We are flooded to hell and back. Now we're kind of desperately digging, and we find Shrine of Burning Rage. Okay, so here's our sideboard tech. We're going to see how good it is. We've had to kind of stone rain ourselves a couple times. It's a little bit rough. So, you know, the Lava Dart block, I think that's all. It's a little bit early for that. It's a little bit loose. We're just going to take the hit, see if the opponent has the courage or madness to try to grow the shadow before damage. They don't. Instead, it's just another shadow. So a little bit scary, my friends. A little bit scary indeed. We're going to go ahead and lead on the Shrine. Now, there's no need to Lava Dart main phase, but even if we would, remember to play Shrine first, because every red spell you cast is going to give it a counter. So now we're going to attack. Now we have a better excuse to Lava Dart, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we Lava Dart the Shadow, and we Lava Dart the Shadow again. So why did we Lava Dart the Shadow? Well, normally we would get to have our cake and eat it too. We Lava Dart the opponent, we Lava Dart the opponent. Our creature grows to a 4/5 and beats the 4/4 in combat. That's amazing. That's why Lava Dart is so good with Prowess. But remember, doing that is going to grow the Shadow as well and make all of our attacking and attempt to win in combat in vain. So instead, we have to just dart the Shadow, which does not accomplish anything in and of itself, but it does allow us to basically turn the Lava Dart into a kill spell, which is pretty good. The other Shadow's coming back for us. It's not that risky. You know, sometimes if you're leaning on a Shrine like we kind of are now, it's risky to tap down to a point where you cannot activate it, 3 to activate, but because the opponent is still 2 land drops away from a Kolaghan's Command, which is probably the only way they have to destroy this artifact, I'm not too worried about it. So we had a free attack there. Why didn't we attack? Well, here's why. Because the only way we're probably going to lose at this point is land into Temur Battle Rage right now. Land into TBR is lethal, so attacking and Lava Darting just means other things are going to be lethal, right? So instead, like, we just by casting a couple Lava Darts, we basically are representing lethal with our Shrine. Sure enough, the opponent finds the land, so we are very wary for the TBR. We're going to go ahead and assign the block. We don't need Swifty to win anymore. We just need not to die this turn. So the opponent's going to fetch, shock, TBR, 7/7, a little bit scary, but we once again are going to make the same play of Lava Darting the Shadow. This would be even better, of course, if we had a Swiftspear to wither it. But instead, all we're doing is making sure not to grow the Shadow, and we are growing our Swifty enough, not where we can win in combat, but where we can survive. So their trample damage does 12. We are down to 2. We've gotten 2 more hits on the Shrine. There's our Blood Moon. Pretty cool. I don't know, guys. Should we cast Blood Moon, or should we win? So I decided to win. Shrine of Burning Rage taking the opponent down. You gotta love that. I mean, this is why I think this deck is so cool. Compared to Burn, and I don't mind Burn. I think Burn's a pretty sweet deck, but we've got all kinds of really fun tricks, many of which involve Lava Dart, but Shrine of Burning Rage opens up some good lines as well. All of this stuff is very interesting alongside Prowess creatures. And 2 separate times we used a Lava Dart in unconventional ways to stay in this matchup. First, we used it to kill a Shadow in combat in kind of an unconventional way that we would only really do against specifically the card Death Shadow. And secondly, we used it to stay alive, reading them for TBRs, their only realistic win condition at that stage of the game. We got there. So definitely a mixed bag for the opponent. They had a lot of really good stuff. They saw early Shadows at the right times every game. Maybe not game 1, actually, I don't think. But they had some good curve outs. They had some scary stuff. But they also got a little bit land screwed games 1 and 3. So we also had a mixed bag. We flooded a lot. We failed to draw the burn when we could have cheesed them out game 2, but we did manage to scrape it out there. A very close game and a very good game. Pretty happy with that one. So we advanced to 2-0 in the league. Let's check out round 3. And once again, we lose the die roll, but we've got a solid keep. 3 lands, Swifty, 3 burn spells. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, opponent goes Cavern Naming Human into Noble Hierarch. So it's an interesting call right away. We can tag the Hierarch with a Forked Bolt, tag the opponent for 1 to slow them down. We have enough kill spells in hand, and they might give us a better window for Forked Bolt. Next turn, we might be able to tag 2 X1s, including very possibly Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, plus the upside of getting all the prowess next turn. All of those things led me to the Swifty play. So we'll see how it goes for us. The opponent goes Champion of the Parish into Meddling Mage, taking a damage off Horizon Canopy, and Meddling Mage names Searing Blaze. This is apparently, first time it's happened to me, but apparently a little bit of incidental upside that we get when the opponent mistakes us for burn with something like that. So pretty cool. We make a land drop. We're going to go ahead and crash through. We don't care to Forked Bolt the Meddling Mage, and so basically we're trying to see what else we can see, but we're going to be pretty content. If we don't see anything else great to do this, we're going to bolt the champion before it gets out of control and smack him for 3. So it would have been interesting. The opponent had a live block there with Meddling Mage. They should see these 2 cards and know that we're not Burn and probably not playing Searing Blaze, but they're going to try to race back, just keep their bear around, and that makes sense because they've got a Thalia's Lieutenant. So it's back to us. We draw another Bedlam Reveler. That's a very, very bad draw. But we're going to go ahead and spike upstairs. And then I chose to bolt the board here, keeping the board clear against a synergy tribal deck like this, especially something that can grow. Totally fine, and we're definitely spending that bolt that turn either way. I judge that to be better than putting them to 6, but definitely could see either way. And the opponent goes Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, into another Meddling Mage, and this one is blind naming Bedlam Reveler, so obviously that is a serious blowout. They hit back for 4, we draw a crash through, so now they're taxing us, they're locking out what would have been our best play this turn. And it's just a couple of crash throughs. I mean, we're going to cast them, it's still pretty decent. We still get to keep digging, and we get to attack. And the opponent almost threw away the Thalia, which, you know, I could see doing either, because right now they are dead to double burn, right? And we have the mana to do it, even through the tax. So, but they don't do that because they've got the Kite Sail Freebooter. Obviously, really, really well timed. Now they're no longer dead to whatever we can top deck, and now we have nothing castable in hand. Opponent just turns them sideways with impunity. We draw a Lightning Bolt, and here I think is where I misplay. So yeah, I bolt the Freebooter to get my bolt back, and then I'm basically I was a little bit like thrown off by the blind name of Reveler, and then by the top deck of Freebooter, which this appears to have been. So I just kind of said, well, we'll bolt that. We'll make them see the block here. Make them see that we have lethal. And I think that was a mistake. I think, right, we're supposed to sit back and maybe bolt while attacking, have a good block. But I don't really see us getting there anyway, because they were so wide. They had a couple of, this was a 1-2, that was a 1-2. We have to pay a life from Fiery Islet, plus they're going to have 2 cards when they untap. I think we were dead either way. I think we were dead either way, especially because they're at 5. So it's not like we can realistically kill them on the crackback. They would have to have Stone Cold Nothing, and we would have to have everything. And even then, we might be taking exactly lethal. I need to go back and count. Nevertheless, it was probably loose to attack and just hope they don't notice that they have to block. Probably was more likely to get us there, more likely to force the opponent into a cautious play or a misplay to sit back. So, definitely a tough spot, but look, we lost that game when they did this, when they blind named the Bedlam Reveler right after we drew the second, which would have been a terrible draw either way. This is one reason I'm only on 3. A lot of my losses, now granted, a lot of my wins come when I top deck Reveler in an attrition matchup, or when I finish off with one from my opener in an attrition deck, but a lot of the times my losses come when we're taxed or we're clunked up for this reason or that reason, and then we draw the second Bedlam Reveler. Always a feel bad moment. So that kind of hosed us here, but let's take a look at the sideboard, see what to do against 5-color humans. Okay, my friends, so against humans, I did side out a Kiln Fiend because it is a little soft to their things like Reflector Mage, and again, they just have kind of a million blockers. Including First Strike from Thalia, so I think Kiln Fiend is a little bit of a poor fit in the matchup. and a couple Lava Spikes because we do want to be able to grind, and we do want to be able to control the board. And Lava Spike is fine, but, you know, when those things matter a little bit more, then you can trim a couple spikes. But why am I taking a Manamorphose out? Well, it's very simple. Thalia tax makes this card a ton worse. And we have a lot of ways to remove Thalia, but sometimes they will make it, you know, they will exhaust our resources or they will tax us. And, you know, I think we can just trim a Manamorphose here fairly freely. You could also maybe argue for a Bedlam Reveler as well, but in terms of what comes in, pretty clearly you want all of our removal here. Abrade is especially amazing because it can hit Ether Vial as well as any human before buffs. And Dismember, I am happier to trade a Dismember for a creature, a card plus 4 life for a creature against humans than I am against Elves, because they don't linearly aggro us out quite as well as Elves does, and their disruption and taxation is a lot more meaningful. So therefore I like Dismember here, even though I'm not sure about it against Elves. Back at it, on the play against humans, we got a nice keeper, 3 lands with a cantrip, a threat, and 3 pieces of 1 mana burn, or interaction, or gas. Opponent will keep 7 as well, or keep 7 as well. They go Plains into Champion of the Parish. So let's lead off with the Warlord's Fury, try to see whether we can set up for a really big turn next turn, and then our best play there is to simply Lava Dart the Champion of the Parish. That feels pretty good. And smash in for 3. Can't say no to that, and the opponent will go turn 2 Cavern into Kitesail Freebooter, and they pretty clearly going to take away Lightning Bolt. We're a little bit unusually light on a way to answer that right now, but we do draw a cantrip. Unfortunately, we cantrip into yet another land, so right now we are pretty flooded. There is a tension between cracking this for more action and leaving it so we can cast a Reveler earlier, but hopefully we're drawing into action with the Islet that can fill up the graveyard for Reveler anyway, right? But it's all very awkward to be already this flooded, seeing 5 lands in the top 11 cards against humans, not where we want to be. Opponent will play a Thalia, hit us for 1, and the presence of Thalia means we definitely want a cantrip. Just need more action. So Warlord's Fury and another land. Very, very flooded. So the best play here in my estimation, even though we're Stone Raining ourselves again, is to Lava Dart the Thalia, because we just have to assume like we're going to keep drawing 1 mana action. And doing that means we're not taxed by the Fury, but we draw yet another mountain. This is all pretty horrendous, guys. Pretty horrendous stuff. And then to make matters worse, they had a second copy of Thalia in hand. And it's happening again. It's happening to us again. They're going to lock our Bedlam Reveler out with Meddling Mage. And then right on cue, you know, right after the optimal window, we draw Manamorphose. As mentioned in the sideboard tech, it's definitely a whole lot worse against Thalia. But we Manamorphose into a Lightning Bolt. And this was a really interesting call. So we can bolt the Freebooter to get our other bolt back, or we can bolt Meddling Mage. I chose to bolt the Meddling Mage because the odds of them having another mage to lock out our Reveler next turn are pretty low. And at this point, Bedlam Reveler is by far one of our most efficient plays. We can go ahead and Reveler, play land, Reveler, have a land open. And that's more efficient along the ground. It blocks Thalia well, blah, blah, blah. It's going to give us the inevitability in the matchup. So I did choose to do that. And on top of that, we're going to see 3+4 cards for our draw step next turn. We're going to have a way to get our Lightning Bolt back, right? All of that, though, does go out the window because the opponent does have another Bedlam Reveler lockout with another Meddling Mage. And then on top of that, they have Reflector for our Swiftie. Pretty rough stuff. They are out of gas, but my goodness, have they curved out well. And we draw another Monastery Swiftspear, so it couldn't really get much worse than this. We play a mountain, we pass. Opponent's got a couple Horizon Canopies to cash in into an Ether Vial, so they're dudding out a bit, but the problem is they've got us locked out and taxed, and now they've got a wide board. and then we draw another Bedlam Reveler. So it's pretty miserable, guys. What are you going to do? We get to redeploy our Swifties, but we have no good attacks. Unless we want to bluff, which I don't think we're supposed to yet. I think we'd rather bluff blocks, which is exactly, what we're doing right now. And hopefully we finally draw a little bit of action here. And so our attacks, our bluffs are good enough where they're going to hold their Meddling Mage back. They're only really risking the Thalia. And of course we don't have anything, so we just take it. And now they're hitting their Ether Vial, so again they're dunning out a bit, but look at this. Look at this. Did I not say this is why I only play 3 Bedlam Revelers? So we have drawn 7 lands and 3 Revelers in the top 19 cards of our deck. Definitely a little bit absurd, not gonna lie. And yeah, I just don't know how much worse it could get. Once again, we do bluff. And we do scare off the Thalia, so there's that. We still have hope if we draw the right card now, but it's the wrong card. It's a Lava Spike. We would love for this to be an instant speed burn spell so we could, kill something, get it back, or even just like a Forked Bolt here to unlock our Lightning Bolt or unlock our Bedlam Reveler or something would be interesting. But Lava Spike, pretty rough. And again, we sided down to 2 of those, so our draws have just been really, really bad. No getting around that. Opponent has Viled in a Champion, and once again we're bluffing well enough to dissuade the Alden attack that could have killed us a couple turns ago by now. Opponent's got a Charming Prince, though. That's pretty rough. It's going to buff Champ, and they're going to blink a Reflector Mage rather than gain 3 life. It's a little bit of a tough call as to which is better, but both of them are very bad for us. Now, again, insult to injury, we keep drawing the cards that we have sided down on or are specifically bad against the opposing board. Manamorphose into another Manamorphose. The Thalia attacks is just brutalizing us. This would be the start of a very good turn if we weren't getting taxed, potentially. But instead it's not. We Lightning Bolt the Thalia, but it doesn't really matter. All this really does is let us bluff. Or let us finish them with a spike once again if they decide not to block. We could have bolted this freebooter to get our bolt back, but then that bolt would be locked out by the Thalia attacks. Once again, maybe we attack first and instead of bolting first, but it really doesn't matter. They're going to assign a block with something and we just get wrecked. So, guys, how much unluckier could we get in this matchup? Really hard to say. Really hard to figure out a way to get unluckier unless we just failed to fire at all, like mull to 5, never draw the second land, something like that. So we've had a pretty good curve out, but the way, in most of our matches so far, but the way the opponent's disruption lined up against us, we were just getting max punished at every turn, and I think the humans matchup is pretty fine, but it does go to show you the power of their disruption, and it certainly got the better of us here. So well done to the opponent. We fall to 2-1 in the league. Unfortunate, but that'll happen, and on we go to round 4. Losing all our die rolls today, my friends, and we've got a hand. It's an interesting one. 4 lands is definitely on the very high side of things, but we do have the cantrip land. We do have a threat and gas, so it is a keep. And the opponent has mulliganed as well. But we are against Dredge, so they go Stomping Ground, Shriekhorn Pass, and our flooding woes continue. We draw a 5th land, and all we got is Soul-Scar Mage Pass. And the opponent's hits off Shriekhorn are Conflagrate and Creeping Chill, so this is really, really scary. And then they're going to upkeep another Chill into the graveyard and a Bloodghast, so 4 excellent hits. And then they go Gemstone Mine, so we know that the Conflagrate is live if they don't have anything better to do, and that would be very, very bad. The Conflagrate our thing to fill up the graveyard some more. That would be awful. But instead, they're going to do us one better. They've got a Cathartic Reunion in hand, so this is a nut draw. They hit a Stinkweed Imp, Narcomoeba, Life from the Loam, Prized Amalgam, Bloodghast, a second Narcomoeba. Yeah. And they've already gotten 2 free Lightning Helixes out against us. Pretty horrifying stuff, not gonna lie. Here come the zombies, and what are we supposed to do? What can we possibly do against this? Well, what we can do is just try to race. That's all we got. We're gonna try to race. So to that end, we will Lava Spike main phase, then light up the stage. We need to get max damage across this turn, and we need to attack. First, of course, we have to do the math. The opponent's got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 power on board. We're not going to beat another Creeping Chill. And their Bloodghasts won't get haste yet. Conflagrate does some damage potentially as well, but we're just going to attack and see what they've got. And it doesn't look like they've got anything. So back to the opponent. I would have expected at least a Narcomoeba block there. Maybe they didn't do the math. Maybe they're just deterministically think they're going to win. But, you know, we are representing Crash Through, so their chump blocks are not as good next turn. Again, wouldn't have been surprised to see the Narcomoeba block there, but the opponent's got all kinds of stuff. We see that Tome Scour is in their deck. They get some more Bloodghasts and Amalgams back. It's all very, very good. But that is all that they're doing here, and we're at 1. We're at 1. Again, even though I think the block would have been better last turn, I think they might be supposed to, if this is how they execute their turn, leave a couple blockers back, because putting us to 1 versus putting us to 3, that doesn't matter. They're going to kill us next turn no matter what. But a couple more points of blocking against a Crash Through might be the difference between winning and losing, but it doesn't really matter because we just draw another mountain for a turn. We kind of needed to kick off with a Manamorphose here to have it. So we've got Lava Dart and Forked Bolt. We've got some stuff, but it's nowhere near enough. So we just go ahead and scoop it up. And yeah, it was a tall order to get them down, to T3 them from 24 life, right? That's what they started at, basically, because they shocked once, but they got 2 chills. So yeah, we couldn't quite manage the T3 from 24, and that was a certified nut draw from Dredge. Very, very scary stuff, especially on the play. You know what? If they were on the draw, maybe we could have put something together. Depends on what this Fiery Islet would show us, maybe, and what our top deck would show us. But in any case, we got buried pretty hard by the Undead. Let's take a quick look at the side, see what to do. Okay, my friends, so against Dredge, here's how I sided. We bring in our Graveyard Hate, pretty simple. Tormod's Crypt ×1, Surgical ×2. I do want to highlight that there is a very interesting small consideration for Abrade to hit an early Shriekhorn like we did. Plus, if we see any other random artifacts we're not prepared for, just something to keep in mind. Killing a creature is not that relevant, but can be occasionally relevant in strange situations, and Blood Moon is actually not bad at all against Dredge, specifically against Life from the Loam and the Life from the Loam value plan. But I think that with some disruption, we are very, very live to race them. Again, new to the deck, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I chose to stay lean and mean, to stay really focused on winning the race, and to not mess around with sideboard cards that might be in the second tier. And to that end, we do trim a Reveler, partially because I'm mad at him for seeing all 3 against humans, and partially because we just, again, want to race as fast as possible, and we will trim a couple Forked Bolts, leave 1 in. You know, it's not bad to tag an Narcomoeba, tag the opponent, set up, light up the stage. It's just a shock to the face sometimes, but I think overall I rate Lava Spike and Warlord's Fury, things like that, more highly. We leave in Kiln Fiend because we are racing. So pretty simple stuff that I did here. Let's go to game 2. Okay, we're on the play, my friends, and we've got ourselves a hand. We've got 2 lands, a threat, some Graveyard Hate, some gas, and it's all good. It is all good. This is the exact type of hand that we love to see. And the opponent has mulliganed all the way down to 3. You don't see that every day, you really don't. I don't know if they started mulling for some specific things, thinking they're an underdog on the play, or whether they just had so many non-functional hands, but hey, pretty cool stuff. I'm not going to be mad about it. I almost wish they saved that mulligan for, if we take him to game 3 and we're going to be on the draw, we'd rather have them go to 3. But they're at 3 now. They go turn 1, land, Tome Scour, get the Narcomoeba back, Bloodghast in the yard. It's a pretty decent turn, but we have drawn another cantrip pretty good. So we go Warlord's Fury, see what we can see, and Soul-Scar Mage is definitely going to be a nice play. Next turn going to set us up for a big turn 3, so that's exactly what we'll do. We hit him for 2, we play SSM, and we pass it over to the opponent. Holding up Surgical Extraction here, ideally want to use it on our turn And we can respond to Bloodghast with this and get all Bloodghasts out of their deck. It won't come back, they don't have a fetch land, so they can't blow us out. I don't like that, because we're ahead. We're ahead pretty significantly, so Bloodghast is not a card we care about when we're ahead. It cannot block, and it's not going to realistically outrace us. So we're going to hang on to Surgical, and we draw another Soul-Scar Mage. That's not the very best. We're kind of just looking for more burn here, right? But there we go. We found a piece. It's a Lava Dart, and that's a fine enough one. We're pretty happy to Lava Dart the Narcomoeba. Just get max damage across, reduce their ability to block us well in the future, even though we were crashing through now. And no need to go super aggro with it, though. We'll just be content to hit the opponent there. And then they've got Cathartic Reunion, so they're discarding Life from the Loam and Narcomoeba there. So I think we actually could potentially have let this resolve and then try to extract a payoff, but the fact that this was their play here means I'm pretty much happy to extract Life from the Loam regardless, because they are empty-handed. So they would need to draw something pretty specific like Land, Lightning Axe, and a Dredge card off of these 3 draws to really punish us. I just think the fact that we get to get this out of their hand, get this out of the graveyard right now, very, very good. But we also get to see exactly what the opponent's up to as well. Couple Conflagrate. They have 2 copies of Lightning Axe. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward stuff. They also have a 1 of Dark Blast. Good to know. Good to know all of these things. They have not sideboarded too heavily, it seems. But we get to go ahead and get those out of there. The opponent draws their 3, and then they just scoop it up. So that was good enough. The extraction on Life from the Loam, good enough. Again, you could argue maybe for letting it happen, maybe for not. But I just think from there, with this hand, can't really see us losing to a natural draw 3. They've got no other Dredge effects, no other payoffs in the graveyard. Totally fine window for it, if you ask me. So there we go. We get one back, admittedly, against the Dredge deck that mauled all the way down to 3. But we had a nice curve out. We had some pressure and disruption. That's what we want. So going to be a little bit tougher on the draw. Let's take a look at Game 3. Okay, my friends, this is an excellent Game 1 hand. We've got 2 threats. We've got Manamorphose light up the stage, Lava Dart. This is like a stone cold keep in a Game 1. It's a little bit sketchier here against a really binary deck, a really like linear deck that operates on a specific axis like Dredge. So do we mulligan to graveyard hate? Well, the opponent's on the play, and we saw that the opponent took a mulligan. I'm pretty confident in my ability to race Dredge with this deck, in general. The fact that the opponent was taking at least 1 mulligan that we knew of, I was like, alright, I'm keeping this just a really good Game 1 hand. The opponent doesn't go all the way down to 3 for us, they go to 6. And they've got to play Mana Confluence turn 1. We're hoping that pain's going to add up, but they go Tome Scour into Creeping Chill. So that's recouping a lot of the life, and Bloodghast, which is a good value, but thankfully no Dredge cards. That's really what we wanted to fade, and that's what we did fade. So drawing a Crash Through, pretty good for our just Game 1 aggro them out style plan. But the opponent will upkeep a Lightning Axe pitching Stinkweed Imp. That is savage. That is brutal. Really, really rough stuff. They go to their draw step, they Dredge. And they don't see much, but they do see a prized Amalgam. So if they have a land in hand, which they do, well, they get a pretty good turn, don't they? They get the Bloodghast, the Amalgam, and they killed our threat. Pretty tough stuff. So we're going to go ahead and run out the Swifty, and then we're going to attack. So why are we doing it this way? Well, we have to kind of slow down. We have to kind of rebuild a little bit. So we're just going to chip them for 1, not spend any resources to do so. And then we're going to light it up, set up a really good turn next turn, hopefully, and we see Mountain, which is a little bit whatever, and Manamorphose, which is very exciting. The opponent found their Dark Blast, so upkeep, they're going to Dark Blast, and that's very, very bad for us because they get to now Dredge again on their draw step, and if they have another black land, they get to follow up with a main phase Dark Blast. Dark Blast used this way can kill X2s, so they Dredge another couple lands, and they just get a Narcomoeba, not that big a deal. We're just really trying to fade that land, and it looks like we are. So that's a big sigh of relief. The opponents had some good stuff, but they didn't have the second black land. So definitely a bit of a bullet dodged there, but we're going to go ahead and Manamorphose to kick things off. We hit another light up the stage, so I think another Manamorphose is in order. No reason to do anything else before that. And we get a crash through. So let's play that mountain out from exile before we lose it, before we forget about it. And we'll start crashing through. At least one crash through definitely warranted here. And then what do? So we have Lava Dart, and we're going to want to light up the stage this turn, again, to set up for a really good turn next turn as well. So we go ahead and Lava Dart the Narcomoeba, and then we attack. We could have just Lava Darted the opponent with Crash Through. Narcomoeba blocks, no big deal, but we're, it's kind of 6-1, half dozen of the other as far as I can tell. And then we do get to light up the stage here. Now, the only thing we didn't get to do is play Soul-Scar Mage, and maybe we should have. Maybe we should have made sure that we got there. But with another Crash Through, I was hoping for more gas from the second light up the stage. We don't have it. We don't have it, so that's a little bit rough. Upkeep Dark Blast is going to be dredged again. Opponent's got a Creeping Chill, a little scary as well. We're down to 9. We're losing the race. Pretty rough. And the opponent, however, is respecting our ability to go off next turn enough to hold back Prized Amalgam. So I think that's a fine play. I think that's a fine decision, but it actually is pretty good for us because we don't have that explosive of a hand, right? But we will begin with a Crash Through, and we find another Swifty. So how do we best sequence here? Well, we're going to run out that Swifty. Then we play Fiery Islet. And then we're going to play a Soul-Scar Mage. So under some circumstances, you just conceal information by holding back the Soul-Scar, but playing it out actually is pretty important here. It's going to let us play some tricks with Lava Dart if we so desire. And we're just going full race mode, baby. We got to get this game ended before they keep dredging, or they find the second black land for a repeated Dark Blast, or they find more chills, what have you. So having left back the Amalgam, they're going to assign the block. But now, once again, Lava Dart gets to show its worth, and this time Soul-Scar Mage is its companion. So look at this. We just get to Lava Dart at once, wither the opponent. We don't need to Stone Rain ourselves. We don't need to spend too many of our future prowess triggers on that. We just simply Lava Dart once, and that's the end of the Amalgam. Opponent down to 12. They will dredge, and they don't hit much. Life from the Loams are good, but it's going to let them keep dredging. Dredge a little bit bigger than Dark Blast, right? But they're kind of at the stage where they need immediate payoffs. They need things that go to the board right now. They need Creeping Chills. They need things like this. And Bloodghast will attack us, and we are at 4, but we draw a Forked Bolt. Pretty exciting stuff. Pretty exciting stuff. There's that Kiln Fiend. What's up, Kiln Fiend? Good to see you, buddy, but we actually don't need your services at the moment because we just get to go Forked Bolt and attack, and we've got a couple Lava Darts waiting in the wings. So attack. Doesn't really matter when we do this. The opponent either has something or they don't, and they sure don't. So we had a couple Lava Darts coming across, putting the opponent to 8, and then attacking for another 12. So even if they had a Lava Axe here, we'd have exactly lethal. So good times, my friends. Very, very good times. Winning the race against Dredge here. The turn 5 kill. Through some Creeping Chills, through some pressure, with no graveyard hate on our side. Just good old-fashioned mono-red prowess aggro. So we take down Dredge. Very good games, very close series. We are 3-1 in our league, in our second league with the deck on the channel. Let's check out the 5th round right now. Well, my friends, it is that 5th and final round here, and we've got a one-lander. We haven't had to keep many one-landers. I do think generally we want to keep these for sure. We'll see how this one pans out. Opponent goes Botanical Sanctum Kumena Speakers, so looks like Simic Merfolk to me. Green fish, and we immediately draw the second land. Very, very nice. We need that to function, and repeatedly activating Islet. That's going to get painful against a tribal aggro deck. So Notably, they did not have the island buff. This is a 2/2 as long as you control another merfolk or an island. So we were able to get in a cheeky attack there, pretty nice. They do play the island a second time around, and then they're just passing. So they're representing counter magic, perhaps other things. Merfolk Trickster could be in the cards, a bounce effect of some kind. So let's just begin with an attack. We're just going to begin with an attack. Merfolk plays a really good value game, and they can clock sometimes if they're against a non-interactive deck. They can go like turn 1 Speaker, turn 2 Lord, curve out from there with Mutavaults involved, but that's not how they're curving out here, so I'm not that worried about their clock. Instead, we're going to try to set up for another good turn. So we're going to, once again, chip in for 1, spending no resources to achieve Spectacle, and we get it. So that's great. Mountain Lava Spike, pretty good cards, actually. You know, specifically that mountain is nice to see. And then on the end step, they're going to Petty Theft to bounce our Swiftspear. So knowing that they could be on counter magic, whether it be Mana Leaks or Deprives or Forces of Negation, no matter what it is, here is a fine time to Lightning Bolt them before they get to untap, before they get more information off the draw step. And again, we're happy to spend resources on this deck to control the board sometimes, and I think this is one of those times. So pretty happy to bolt there. Opponent makes their 3rd land drop. They're passing, holding up Brazen Borrower, representing all kinds of other things. So we're going to go Swifty. We're going to play the Mountain from Exile. We're going to play the Lava Spike from Exile. And then, so that resolves. We're just going to try to light it up again. See if that resolves. It sure does. So we got a couple of Forked Bolts. Pretty good against Brazen Borrower. And we get to hit for 3. And the opponent just had nothing to say about any of that. So no permission. No bounce, no trickster, but they do have the fairy on the end step. Not a card we care about much right now. It's going to get aggro. It's going to hit us for 3 because it must know that its fate is going to be sealed in short order by the Forked Bolts. So we draw Crash Through. Pretty fine draw, but let's kick it off with a Manamorphose, see if they've got any permission here. If they do, we still get to go Forked Bolt, hit you for 3 plus tag you for 1. Pretty good, but even better, Manamorphose will resolve. So let's not stop. Let's keep going. I really like this chain. It seems great to me. And there we go. We hit our 4th land. Pretty good stuff. So let's see a Forked Bolt. See if they've been really patient with permission for a Forked Bolt. They're not. So we're just going to keep hitting them. We take care of the fairy. We hit them for 3. Our Swifty is huge. And now to play around another bounce effect. We're just going to attack first before we fire anything else off. And before damage, we're going to Lava Dart, put them within lethal of a Lava Spike, and still no bounce effect. And they haven't had permission this whole time, so we know we've pretty much got them with a follow-up Spike. And look at that. Once again, a turn 4 kill while killing 2 creatures along the way. And while being at a nice, comfy life total ourselves, not in danger of dying on any kind of crackback anytime soon. So another just like masterclass, not by me as a pilot, but by the deck. Definitely like so many interesting lines. It feels so powerful, and again, it's very cool that it's a burn deck with a really explosive, some really explosive potential, a lot of turn 3 gold fishing potential that can also take lines that involve controlling the opposing board, and it doesn't really even slow you down all that much, at least some of the time. So can't say it enough how cool that is, but we're not out of the woods yet, or granted, we're not out of the shallows yet, maybe is a better way to say it, not out of the river or the jungle. We got to beat the Simic fish. Let's take a look at the sideboard, see how to do it. All right, my friends, so against Simic Merfolk, Abrade gets better and better as this league goes on. It's good against elves, it's great against humans, and it is MVP against Merfolk, because not only can you kill the fish with it, and the fairies, not only can you kill their ether vials, they are also at least somewhat likely to be a Chalice of the Void deck, and we need Abrade to beat Chalice of the Void most of the time, so you definitely want all of your Abrades. And much like humans, I think the Merfolk are cost-intensive enough, beefy enough, and their disruption is relevant enough that I do like Dismember, even though our life total matters. And again, their clock is a little bit anemic compared to elves. so I don't mind the life loss as much. Specifically, if you look at something like Tidebinder Mage that we really need to kill, yeah, I'm pretty happy to play one Dismember here. And finally, Shenanigans. Again, this is a way to beat Chalice of the Void. Now, I don't think I would just side it in game 2, probably, unless I knew for sure they were going to be on Chalice. But hey, you know, if we know they're a Chalice deck and we know they're leaving in Ether Vials, which I'm sure they will, then maybe Shenanigans comes in. I'm not sure about that, but it's worth mentioning. Now, these 3 cards I think definitely can come out. Kiln Fiend is soft to the Tricksters and the Harbinger of the Tides type effects. Lava Spike, again, this is a matchup where we like to control the board so we can cut a couple spikes. Now, for the 4th cut, I'm not entirely sure. I think we might want to cut a Bedlam Reveler because it can just clunk us up a bit. They might play a Relics of Progenitus to make it a lot worse. But then again, the games get very grindy. They can be very value-oriented. Reveler is obviously a great way to go over the top of Chalice, so I'm not sure whether I would cut the 3rd Reveler or the 2nd Spike first. It would be one of those two, and maybe we cut one of each if we are going to bring in the Shenanigans. But for game 2, I think I would side like this, and I'm not sure, again, Spike versus Reveler for the final cut. And then, you know, if they take us to game 3, we'll have to reevaluate. But here's how we sided. Let's check out game 2. Alright, my friends, we've got 3 lands, 2 threats, a Lava Dart, and most importantly, an Abrade. You gotta love the Abrade, and the opponent has mulliganed to 6. Our opponents have taken a fair number of mulls this game, or this league, rather, it must be said. And they've got another turn 1 speaker, but this time it's off of an island, so it's kind of a mirror of last game, except we can't get our cheeky attack in. Feels bad, man. Opponent's got the turn 2 Waterlogged Grove. They're getting freaky with the speaker. And then it is Chalice of the Void time. So this is our arch nemesis, but hey, we've got the answer. The Abrade is on our side. So pretty clear turn of Abrade. Your Chalice hit you back for 2, pass the turn. Opponent coming back across with 2, getting their race on. And it is going to be Oko, Thief of Crowns. Now, note that they've taken 3 points of damage already from Waterlogged Grove. Very, very painful for the opponent. Very, actually, they shocked in Breeding Pool, too, so they've taken a ton of damage, if I'm not mistaken. And all that's pretty painful, but Oko is going to, they hope, stabilize them. But we draw Manamorphose, which is exactly what allows us to have our cake and eat it. Before this, there might have been a tension between, you know, Swifty and some other things. I guess maybe not, because we already had the mana to do it all. But this is just clearly what we do. We go Swifty into Manamorphose, into Abrade. So Abrade is actually kind of tempting here. It's mana efficient, we can kill something, but I think we've got to save Abrade for the Chalice, right? So instead, we get the super efficiency of Forked Bolt, and then we're just not... the super card to output, I should say, efficiency of Forked Bolt. We were not mana efficient this turn, and that was the appeal to playing Abrade, is to be mana efficient. Here we just let our floated mana go, because we have exactly enough to kill Oko. And, you know, maybe if we had wanted to go all in on Lava Dart this turn, we could have engineered a different way to attack. Maybe we get even more damage across to the opponent. But look, I think saving the dart is totally fine, and the opponent's got another Chalice of the Void. So guys, their progression has been pretty strong, but you know what? So has ours. Once again, we get to have a turn where we say, Abrade your Chalice, get that thing out of here, smack you for 4, you're down to 8, and then we go Soul-Scar Mage and we save Lava Dart for our big turn next turn, hopefully the end of the game. Opponent taking more pain from the lands, Master of the Pearl Trident into a tapped land and pass. We draw Crash through, okay, GG, right? Oh boy, it gets even better. Warlord's Fury. Our cup runneth over, we've got it all. And then we're going to dart the board again, once again, because we have resolved to Crash through. These can go upstairs, it's pretty much the same thing, but we like darting the board because it's cool. And then we like swinging unopposed with 15 points worth of first striking trample damage, and putting the opponent to -8 seems pretty good to me. We still add another Soul-Scar Mage in hand, watching the carnage. You've got to Love it. So there we go, my friends. It's not going to show us the wins match for some reason, but we did. Trust me, we did win the match on the back of this stuff. There's nothing they can have with that last card in hand that's going to keep them out of the woods here. So that was some absolute destruction of a very good Merfolk progression. They went turn 1, 2/2 for 1 mana. Turn 2 Chalice, turn 3 Oko, turn 4 Chalice. And then a turn 5 Lord, which admittedly wasn't that good by that stage of the game. But you almost couldn't draw it up better for the opponent besides maybe having, like, of course, Force of Negation to protect the Chalice would have been an issue, or some more painless lands. Otherwise, for, like, the combination of hate pieces, value, life gain, proactivity, they couldn't ask for better. And we still turn 5'd them with 8 points of overkill and an unused creature in hand. Guys, this is why I love the deck. This is why I love Mono Red Prowess. It has been very, very fun to pilot, and as long as you all keep wanting to see some of it, I'm going to keep bringing it to you as kind of a secondary companion to my BGX adventures in both Modern and Pioneer. So that was our league. That was our second league on the channel. We 3-2'd the first one. We 4-1 this one. Signs are very, very good for this deck being a nicely positioned, and not even just like a meta deck that can spike when the meta is favorable, can spike an event. I think it's just like a strong deck. Really do think it's just a strong deck. It can win through hate comfortably, and we did so here in the final game pretty nicely. So let's do a quick wrap up of the list, and then we'll close out. Okay, my friends, I hope you like this league, and I'm still soliciting feedback on some of the sideboarding corner case decisions, of course, from you veteran Prowess players out there, and also soliciting feedback on the list. So I mentioned Kiln Fiend at the beginning. I think we're going to put this bad boy on the thumbnail, and so a lot of the lists I've seen play 0 copies, or they play like 3. It's like either a Kiln Fiend Prowess deck or it's not. I don't see anything like philosophically or intrinsically wrong with doing what I'm doing, which is deciding that, like, okay, 8 early threats plus the 9th early threat is kind of a fine place to be. Of course, it's not as early, but does it really matter if we get to turn 3 with it anyway? Maybe not. And I don't like the 4th Bedlam Reveler. I think this league was more evidence against that 4th Reveler. In fact, if anything, I could see moving the 3rd to the side based on this league, but maybe we don't want to get that results-oriented. But in any case, I like the Kiln Fiend. I really do. This could be Blister Coil weird, or it could be Runaway Steamkin, but Kiln Fiend wins games. Wins games single-handedly. So I don't see anything philosophically wrong with this. And the other points of deviation with what I'm doing relative to like what I've seen Ryan Overturf doing and seeing some 5-0 lists doing, the main thing is I've got like a classic Grimflayer MTG hedge of 3 Warlords Fury in 3 of my Shock variant rather than 4 and 2. Either way. But more importantly, perhaps, I'm playing Forked Bolt over Burst Lightning. And alternatives, also other things see play like Firebolt, but it's mainly Burst Lightning that people play. I understand the kicker's sweet, I understand that it's mainly there because it's an instant, but I have never been disappointed by Forked Bolt overall. Of course, in Windows it can be worse than alternatives, but it can be way, way better than alternatives in other windows. We saw it today. Tagging 2 Heritage Druids seems really good. We saw it in the first league where we got to like on turn 2, tag a Mana Dork, tag the opponent, then activate Spectacle for light up the stage. Like, this card's awesome. So let me know what you think of this. I'm going to continue playing it until it's proven to be probably strictly incorrect, or until I want to give the alternatives more of a run out, which I have done in practice lobby games, and I gotta say I like the Forked Bolt. So what are you going to do? Talk me out of it, co-sign it, you let me know, my friends, and let me know, of course, what you thought about the gameplay as a whole. I do know that my Rock Pioneer and my Rock Modern numbers, whether it be analysis or theorycraft or gameplay, they're all good. Or deck techs, it's all good. The Prowess numbers have not been as good, but I think that this will grow over time. Maybe there won't be as much demand for it overall as there is for Rock. Maybe the ceiling isn't as high as it is for BGX content, but I think people are going to want to watch this as we keep playing this deck, keep getting better with it. So you let me know about that too, my friends. But in the meantime, I hope you did enjoy this replay. I hope you enjoyed the 4-1. I hope you enjoyed the nutty lines this deck is capable of. Feels great. And the trajectory for my piloting is hopefully only upward. I think we've got a decent grasp on it right now, but you can always get better, right? So thanks again for watching. I do appreciate you. I appreciate even more all Patreon supporters, including our 3 newbies, Colin Haskins and Corey West, the pair of Inquisitors, and of the Veil tier member, The Fjord. Thank you, my friends, for supporting this content. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, and word of mouth can also help me grow. Thanks again for watching. I will see you in the comment section, and I hope everybody out there has a wonderful night.